Dawn breaks over the fog-shrouded plains of Fýrisvellir as Freya and her shield maidens, armor gleaming, silently prepare for battle. Freya adjusts her wolf pelt cloak, rallying her troop with a low but commanding voice, Norse runes glinting on her shield. Eric tightens his leather armor and checks his battered helmet, casting a measured look at the horizon for any sign of the enemy. Astrid sharpens her small axe, woad-painted face set in fierce determination. She studies the enemy lines from afar. Freya leads her closest warriors through the dew-damp grass, whispering final strategies before the assault. Eric scouts ahead with two others, signaling the approach of rival Vikings by a plume of dark smoke over the river. Astrid returns from gathering water, reporting on movement near the enemy's animal pens, horses being saddled for war. Battle cries erupt from the enemy camp. Freya raises her runed shield and signals for a tight shield wall formation. Eric bellows a war chant, and waves of allies join in, pounding weapons on shields to steel their nerves. Astrid exchanges a determined nod with Freya, her heart racing as battle lines draw near the river's edge. Freya gives the signal. Arrows arc across the sky as her shield maidens advance behind their shields. The enemy's axes thud into shields. Freya's wall holds firm, wood splintering under the brutal impact. Eric breaks the shield wall, driving into the foe with his blade, opening a gap with sheer strength. Astrid slips through the chaos, a small axe felling an enemy distracted by the turmoil. Freya's commands ring out, steadying her line as they press the enemy toward the riverbank. Eric rallies a handful of wounded, urging them to form a makeshift barricade of fallen logs and shields. Astrid leads a daring charge, her war cry echoing as she smashes through an exposed flank in the enemy ranks. Freya and Eric clash side by side with enemy champions, their deadly teamwork turning the tide. Mud churns beneath boots as the shield maidens force the enemy ever closer to the icy riverbank. Enemy reinforcements break from their encampment, bearing blue and white banners. The battle intensifies. Freya signals a brief retreat to regroup. She and Astrid pull wounded comrades from the fighting. Eric covers their retreat, lobbing stones and returning stray axes to keep the enemy at bay. Astrid rips a strip of her tunic to wrap Freya's wounded forearm, her hands steady despite the chaos. Freya grits her teeth, ignoring pain as she stands and restores order with a shout that cannot be ignored. Eric consults Freya, pointing out an exposed section in the enemy's hastily reformed ranks. Astrid's keen eyes spot a forgotten cache of spears. She swiftly distributes them to her comrades. Freya arranges a second, bolder assault, this time aiming for the enemy's command tent. Eric nods approval and steels himself for what may be a pivotal charge. Astrid takes the forward position, using fog and fallen shields as cover to lead the assault's vanguard. Freya's war cry splits the morning. The assault begins anew, fiercer and more desperate than before. Eric and Astrid, pushing together, cut a path through guards that protect the tent's entrance. Freya kicks aside the tent flap, storming inside as enemy officers scramble to arm themselves. A desperate melee erupts within the command tent. Freya, Eric, and Astrid fight side by side in close quarters. Freya slams her shield into the enemy leader, knocking him sprawling atop a pile of scattered maps. Eric and Astrid subdue the remaining guards, tying their hands with strips of linen torn from a banner. The Shieldmaidens seize the enemy standards and carry them out as proof of their victory over the command center. Freya proudly plants the captured banner in their own camp for all to see. As night falls, fires flicker to life, and the exhausted host tends wounds, sharing tales of the day's daring assault. At dawn's first light, Freya stands at the river's edge, planning her next strike, emboldened by the banner fluttering behind her. Eric surveys survivors, rallying the least wounded and organizing campsite defenses as nervous warriors tend their gashes. Astrid, restless, sharpens her axe on a whetstone, eyes fixed on the distant enemy camp as her fellow Shieldmaidens whisper nervously. Freya inspects the captured standards and hunks of enemy armor, seeking clues about her opponent's next move. A sudden horn sounds from the enemy camp. Eric, spear in hand, sprints to Freya, warning her the rival chieftain approaches under a white flag. The rival chieftain proposes a parley, offering silver and safe passage if Freya retreats. Freya refuses, vowing never to give ground. The negotiations collapse. Freya rallies her commanders in secret, plotting a daring midnight ambush suggested by Astrid. That evening, Eric meticulously positions decoys near the river to mislead enemy scouts, masking their true numbers. Astrid leads a recon group under cover of dusk, slipping through tall grass to scout the enemy flank. Freya consults with the camp's wise woman before the attack, listening to tales of omen-laced dreams and portents. On Astrid's signal, the Shieldmaidens silently surround a group of dozing enemy scouts, neutralizing them without raising the alarm. Eric distributes captured enemy arrows to Freya's archers, instructing them to use the enemy's own missiles in the coming assault. Freya changes tactics, ordering the blacksmith to shoe all their horses for speed, anticipating a need for a rapid advance. Astrid scouts the enemy's baggage train, noting gaps in their guards, and returns with this intelligence for Freya. Midnight arrives. The Shieldmaidens don wolf pelts, moving ghost-like towards the enemy lines under cloud-shadowed starlight. Eric's warriors create a diversion with fire arrows, lighting enemy hay wagons ablaze, sowing panic in the rival camp. Freya signals, and her Shieldmaidens charge into the confusion, smashing the disoriented enemy with surprise and fury. Astrid, covered in soot, drags a wounded comrade from danger while blocking sword attacks with her splintered shield. Eric duels an enemy champion beside the baggage train, parrying blows and forcing his rival toward the flames. Freya slashes through a line of confused foes and makes for the enemy's valuable supplies, seeking to cripple their ability to march. The enemy finally rallies, forming a desperate shield wall. Freya calls for a withdrawal before they're encircled. Retreating to a small copse, Eric tends to Astrid's wounded arm, murmuring encouragement as the warriors regroup. Freya counts heads, grimly noting the losses. She vows aloud to avenge each fallen sister and brother before dawn. Astrid spies an enemy officer giving quiet orders while most are distracted. She relays this to Freya, hinting at a possible counterstrike. Freya discusses the enemy's shifting tactics with Eric, plotting a pre-dawn assault to catch the warband off guard. Eric sneaks around the enemy encampment, setting hidden snares to disrupt their movements by morning. The Shieldmaidens apply woad symbols to their faces, invoking ancestors and steeling themselves for the coming clash. Freya sharpens her sword in silence, reflecting on her family's history and sacrifices made. Eric encourages a young, trembling warrior by sharing a tale of personal loss and survival, from battles past. Pre-dawn chill hangs over camp as Freya addresses her shield maidens, her words steeling their hearts for the coming fight. Eric inspects the snares he set, finding one triggered, indicating enemy scouts probing the perimeter. Astrid, her face streaked with woad, silently stalks the enemy officer from the night before, tracking movements near the riverbank.